Good morning, everybody. How many calendars do you have? One on your phone, one on your computer, maybe one on your desk. Well, it was on this date, October 4, back in 1582, that Pope Gregory instituted our modern calendar, the Gregorian calendar. This is a Mayan calendar. So the ancient peoples had their own calendars, trying to make sense of sunrise and sunset. And our calendar is somewhat based on the Roman calendar of Julius Caesar, known as the Julian calendar. But it had lots of flaws, and as the centuries went by, it became more and more out of whack. One of the legacies, though, of the Roman calendar is the name of the months, which are based on Roman gods or maybe numbers, like September, October, November are simply the Latin for 7, 8, 9, and 10. Now, the days of the week, they have Roman origins too, but also Norse gods are part of that look and feel of the days of the week. So if you lived in the Middle Ages, your life was pretty simple, particularly if you were rural. The sun rose, the sun set. You had cues from nature on when to plant and when to harvest. You might even have had a poem or two to help you remember that. But you did pay attention to the sun and to the moon, and you even gave the full moon special names. Like the January full moon was the wolf moon. The October full moon was the hunter's moon. And you really paid attention to the longest and shortest days of the year, the solstices, or when there was equal daylight and nighttime, the equinoxes. And one big theme through all of these calendars, particularly in Western Europe, is when is Easter? Because the formula for Easter, the first Sunday after the first full moon after the vernal equinox, was really based on the movement of the sun and the movement of the moon. But one of the big issues with those early calendars is they assumed that the earth was the center of the universe when in fact the sun is. So that's one of the reasons why some of these older calendars were just off, is they had the wrong worldview of how the planets and the solar system worked. So Galileo, pictured here, was 20 when our event happened. So he wasn't really a player in this. I think we think he was because he talked about the sun being the center, but he wasn't part of this story. So here's the Pope, Gregory the 13th. The big issue for him was we got to get Easter right. He had a committee of astronomers and others working on this, and one of their proposals was a permanent leap year, a schedule for leap year. Other calendars going way, way back had added days here and there, but one thing the Gregorian said is we got to have that leap year on a regular basis. So when the time came to put the calendar in practice, Gregory basically said, all right, everybody, add 12 days. And this was instituted at different times throughout Western Europe, and the Brits didn't do it until 1752. So you went to bed on the 2nd, you woke up on the 14th. Now, the French revolutionaries decided to have their own calendar. They didn't like the religious nature of the names of the months and the days, so they substituted new months with names from nature, like snow and rain and wind. But that calendar didn't last, and Napoleon got rid of it. Now, these kinds of calendars are fun. Turns out about every day of the year is some national day, like National Fig Day or something like that. But more and more of us have these kinds of calendars on our device. And maybe you don't call it a calendar. Maybe it's a personal digital scheduling assistant. But we're pretty used to these kinds of calendars. But a fun paper calendar are the page a days where it's a theme of something that you like, a cartoon or photography or something like that. But when you go out to your garden and you look at your sundial, you're really doing what the ancients did. Looking at the sun, paying attention, and trying to organize it.